Welcome back, guys, to part 3 of the Cyberpunk Synthwave painting tutorial. It's finally out, and I know a lot of you guys have been anticipating for this coming out, so it's out here now. I've had a lot going on, moving jobs, moving houses, but we're finally here. We're down, and we've got part 3. So in this one, we're going to be concentrating on the leg. As you can see here, the mechanical joints and stuff. So it's basically the bits that we've left out from part 1 and part 2. And as you can see here at the top of the arm as well, we're going to be concentrating on some of that iconography and the symbols as well. More specific to Tau, but you can use this on pretty much any other mini as well. Okay, the first lot of paints are going to be Citadel. So pause the video here, just get an idea of what paints you're going to be using throughout the video. And also we're going to be using AV model color. You can use different Citadel paints instead of using these. Magenta, you could use some of the Xereus Purple, Ivory. You could use the Wraith Bone sort of colours. So there's a lot of paints you can kind of mix in and out. It's not too bad. So you can see here, you can kind of gauge where we're going to be painting. So we've got the arm there and the symbol on top, but the arm's pretty small here. All you can see is the joint. There's not much room for you guys to get an idea of what the full potential could look like. So here we're going to be concentrating on the leg instead. There's a lot more room to play with. It's so much better. So our base layer is going to be Abaddon Black. That's the first paint you're going to be using over your prime. Your prime can be any color, black preferably. But we're going to be using black for this, Abaddon Black. So the first layer paint that we're going to be using is Eshin Grey by Citadel. And we're going to be blocking out where we're going to want to see some of them highlights come through later on down the line. So specifically on this joint, I'm trying to get the very edge of them cylindrical aspects of the joint there. And whichever side you choose to hit that Eshin Grey highlight, you want to mirror that directly on the opposite side. So as you can see here, I'm using the upper surface, and then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be mirroring that down on the bottom surface as well. So this is what it should look like. You can't really see it. It's quite dark, the grey, but that's the kind of effect that we're going to go for. Quite subtle at the moment, but it'll soon build up. So next we're going to want to do a one-to-one mix with the Abaddon Black that we used and Eshin Grey. Now when we start to mix this paint together, we want to do this one-to-one, but we also want to be quite watery as well, so we want to start to look for that glaze sort of consistency. So if you just brush it over your fingernail, you should see a bit of that pigment there. You don't want all the pigment. You don't want to be painting your nails completely black grey. You just want to just see some of that pigment on there. So all we're doing is we're just brushing that pigment into that Eshin Grey slightly at the edge. You don't want to be going all the way over the Eshin Grey because you're going to lose that colour. So we're just going to do it on the edge of where the Eshin Grey stops. As you can see here, I'm just feathering it back and forth. And the idea is little is best for this. So it might take you a few attempts to get more of a smooth transition across from the Eshin Grey to the Abaddon Black, but little is probably the best at the moment. So you just want to keep applying those layers over and over until you get the right finish that you want. Okay, now that we've got them shades down, we're gonna want to lift that highlight just a little bit more now so we can start bringing that intensity up. So the first color we're going to start to use for this is the Dawnstone. So again, we're going to be using at the top areas, so you're just going to trace back to where you was using the Eshin Grey earlier. So as you can see here, I firstly went up in the top parts, this cylindrical sort of shape on the joint, and then I'm mirroring it at the bottom. You don't want to encroach all the way around on the Eshin Grey that you've done. You just want to kind of block off a small portion of it. So then eventually you'll see the Dawnstone in the middle, Eshin Grey on either side, then slowly transition out into the Abaddon Black. So we're going to be doing the same thing as we did earlier, but this time we're going to switch out that Abaddon Black with the Dawnstone, and again we're going to be using a glaze consistency going back and forth from the Dawnstone into the Eshin Grey, so we can get that smooth transition all the way from the Dawnstone all the way down to the black. Okay, some of that colour might have been lost during them transitions, so what I'm going to do is, as you can see on my fingernail, I'm just trying to get a glaze consistency with Dawnstone, and I want to go back over the very far edges, as you can see here, and also on the rims of the joints and on the flat surface as well. I just want to bring that intensity of that Dawnstone back, because we kind of lost it from when we started glazing with the Eshin Grey. As you can see here, I'm pushing it towards where the Dawnstone needs to be, so you shouldn't be pushing this back to the Eshin Grey, because you'll start to leave some of the pigment there. We're going to be pushing that Dawnstone pigment where it needs to be, so right in the middle and around the far edges as well. Okay, we're going back to the Abaddon Black this time, and we're going to be doing the same thing, but we're going to be in the opposite direction. So we're going to be using not necessarily a 1-to-1 mix with water. We're going to be using slightly bit more water this time, so probably 1 Abaddon Black, 2 water sort of ratio, and we're going to be washing that glaze consistency over into the opposite area than where we were pushing the Dawnstone previously. This is just so we can get that really good high contrast metallic finish towards the end between the dark tones and also the light tones. Okay, for the second highlight, we're going to be using the Celestial Grey, and we're going to be hitting this on the very apex of each of the highlights that we've just created. So as you can see there, I'm literally stippling, dabbing the paintbrush on the areas where the light source is going to be the harshest. So as you can see on the very edges, in between the Dawnstone and on the bottom as well, and also I'll be doing it on the leg as well. So I'm going to get some of that white, and I'm going to create a line, a random line anywhere on the metallic surface. So I've chosen the round joint here. It just gives the metal some texture feel to it, like it's been polished in a certain way. You can do this on the flat surface as well. If you don't have a joint, that's not a problem. But we're going to be using some of that white just to create a line, so we can start using some of this magenta next to it. So glazing the magenta up towards it. We need some of that colour in there just to give it that cyberpunk feel that we're looking for. If you haven't got magenta, you can use Genestealer Purple. If you don't have Genestealer Purple, but you've got Fulgrim Pink, then you can just add a bit of purple into the mix, and it should give you a similar sort of finish. Okay, we're going to grab some of that Sotek Green now, and we're going to apply this directly opposite to the colour that you've just put onto the mini. So for instance, it's the opposite side of when I was doing the magenta line, and this just gives us that clash of colours and a bit of interest into the mini. Now to really lift up that magenta, we're going to use some of the Fulgrim Pink. And again, we're going to use this very carefully, not to cover the whole of the magenta. Again, glazing consistency, and we're going to try and use this directly on top of that white line that we did earlier. Again, same principle with the Fulgrim Pink, but this time I'm going to use the Temple Guard Blue and place this directly in between the Sotek Green. Okay, so this is going to be the last colour that we're going to be applying onto the leg part, and it's the white scar. It's a great white, it's a really good brilliant white, and we're going to be applying this onto the extreme apex of every highlight edge that we've applied onto the leg. So as you can see here, I'm just literally dabbing a dot on top of the round joint there, and also I'm going to be doing it on the bottom of the joint, and also around the round edges as well. It just gives it that more of a shiny finish. Once you're happy with the white highlights, that's you done. That's the leg part done. So we'll now move on to the icons, the symbols next on the Mini. Okay, so now we're going to be starting on the icons and on the symbols as well for the Mini, and you're going to be wanting to use the Xereus Purple Dark, Prussian Blue, and the Abaddon Black. So I've zoomed in here so you can kind of get an idea, but it wasn't the quality is not as good as I thought it would be, so yeah, I apologize for that. But you kind of want to get a dark plum color. If you go back to part 2 of the series, you can get an idea of how to paint the body of the Mini, which is kind of what we're looking for now. We want the icon to be the same color as the body of the miniature, so you can look back at that. But here you can kind of gauge how I'm actually using the colors and what kind of color I'm going to be coming out with. So because we've been using quite a lot of thick paint, you want to water that down, as you can see there, and then we're going to be applying that directly as a base layer on top of the icon, symbol, or anything that you want to use this on the Mini. So the next paint we're going to be using is Fulgrim Pink. Now this is a bit weird because usually you would build up layers like we did on the leg, but in this instance we're going to go straight in there with the Fulgrim Pink. This is because we're going to be using a very high contrast fade from dark to light. We don't really want to be using too many layers to have that gradual increase in highlights, because you'll lose that dark tone that you've got underneath, the dark plum. So we want to create a very high contrast between the two, and Fulgrim Pink is a good way of doing it. So as you can see there, I've used the top of the symbol and I've used directly below. So if you're using a symbol or crest or anything from any other chapter, Space Marines chapter, so you can use the same principle directly at the top, but also directly at the bottom. So now we're going to be switching up to the Temple Guard Blue, and we're going to choose the opposite side. But this could be a random side depending on what kind of symbol icon you're using. But for instance, on this Tau symbol, I've used the other side. So you want to kind of, like what we've been doing, there's quite a common theme now, is to have the pink and blue as opposites. So whichever side you choose the pink, you're going to be choosing the blue on the other side. So we're going to mix the Ivory with the Fulgrim Pink and just dab at the very edges of the icon. So as you can see here, I'm doing it at the very top and also at the very bottom. This is just going to be on the Fulgrim Pink areas, and we're going to do the same thing with the Temple Guard Blue. So we're going to mix the Temple Guard Blue with Ivory, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to be very liberal with this. So we're going to just use a glaze sort of consistency and just kind of stipple where we want that Ivory Temple Guard Blue mix. Now we want to bring some of that colour back in the very dark areas, and a really good colour to do this is the dark Prussian blue. I wouldn't directly put this on straight from the pot or even a 1-to-1 mix. You want to use a very watery consistency with this, just because it gives it that more of a darker feel, but with a very small hint of blue in there as well. So we just want to be applying this on the icon in the very dark areas. Then we're going to switch to the white scar, and where we've put the mix of Fulgrim and Ivory and the Temple Guard blue and Ivory, we're going to start putting some of that white scar directly in the middle of it. So there you go. This is the end result. You should have a great cyberpunk leg with a cool looking symbol icon to match it as well. I really do hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you followed all 3 of the parts, you should be able to get a great synthwave cyberpunk look. And if you have followed all the 3 episodes and you've created your own cyberpunk miniature, I'd love to see it. So do tag me in them on K7 Paints on Instagram. I'd love to see them. I've got more videos like these to come in the future, so if you've got any ideas, do let me know. Thanks for watching. See you soon.